Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So today's date is Saturday, April the 2nd. Second day in the month now. It's about 2 p.m. here in Istanbul, Turkey. And we're going to take a look at the Bitcoin market in general and see how the alts are trending as well. So let's start off by looking at Bitcoin. I mentioned for the past few weeks now that we're most likely in a bullish market right now. There were some very prominent resistances that needed to be acknowledged, and one of the main ones was on the daily chart. The best way to draw a resistance, in my personal opinion, is to never take a hard number. If you take a hard number, for example, if you take the top of this one here, whatever the high is there, you might be neglecting some other points as well. The way that I like to draw a resistance is to always take an average and a place where you're going to consider some bull trapped regions. So for example here, the best way to draw a resistance, in my opinion here, was probably something like that, okay? Because we're getting some wick regions to the top, some wicks right there, some wicks right there as well, that are also intersecting highly with the bodies. So if you consider this particular region of resistance, it would be at $44,500. So the most important thing to acknowledge why we were going to break above here is simply because if we see that we're getting the same highs or near the same range, but we're getting a series of higher lows each time, this is going to symbolize that there's most likely a bull market that is going to happen, or because it's an ascending type of triangle. If an ascending type of triangle occurs, then we're most likely going to break out to the top side. That's very much so the definition of an ascending triangle. You're getting the same highs that are being hammered, and then you're getting higher lows consistently like that. There was an opportunity for us to basically go in this ascending triangle for a long period of time, but of course that didn't happen. If we take a look on the weekly chart, we need to acknowledge the fact that the last time we were below the 55 EMA on the weekly chart was in June of 2020. And we never even trended close to that since then. Since June of 2020, we did a whopping 680%. And then finally, we get to 10 weeks where we hover at the 55 EMA on the weekly, but then we end up bouncing to the top side for a whopping 140%. And then it's not only until about November last year, we get the first wick that touches it, and then we fall down for about 11 weeks total over here. Okay, so we're fighting continuously at the moving average. It's always important to acknowledge the EMAs on a higher time frame because they give you the best baseline average of the price and how it's moving. And because of this, the weekly chart has always been a very significant factor to determine the direction of Bitcoin. And just to give you an idea, one more time, if we were to take a look at Bitcoin on, for example, Bitfinex here, because it shows more data, okay? It shows much more data. These points right here are the points where there were weekly crossovers, and they must be acknowledged that when it's on the negative side, okay, as in the lines here, the 12 and the 16 moving average are on the low side. It's on the negative side. It's on the negative side, right? Here it's on the positive side, okay? Here it came from the negative slightly, and here it's on the negative as well, okay? So we're going to acknowledge it, and if we see that the first tick before, each time, it actually does something significant. So for example, this first one that you see, Bitcoin ends up rallying 350%. The next one that you see here, right? Sure, it started over here, and we need to remember that these are lagging indicators. And since they're lagging indicators, we're not always going to get the best entry. We need to look on a lower time frame that will anticipate these weekly moving average crossovers. So if you were to, for example, look on the daily for the second one here, right? The daily one on the second one, it crosses well before, right? It crosses well over here, for example. Do you see this right there? It crossed over to the positive side, actually right around here, more so over here, you can say. If I were to move it over, right around there, or even right over here, you can say, right? This is probably the most major crossover, so we can anticipate on a lower time frame that it's going to cross over. We can catch a bigger swing, okay? because it's a lagging indicator, it's going to take a compilation of the past prices, which gives you a lagging result at the end. So we take a look here. This guy ended up rallying a large amount as well from the beginning. It did 60%. From here, the second one, it did major percentages. This is probably one of the biggest ones where it went from literally the negative side to the positive. This ended up rallying about 1,000 plus percent. And of course, the next one here as well, this was not so much from the negative side, but from more neutral. This one still ended up rallying a huge amount of about 125%. So taking that into account right now, if we see that Bitcoin has crossed over, which it has, we have to accept the fact that based off of previous data in the past before, and historically from the weekly MACD crossovers, we've actually trended into a major bullish region. And because we're trending into a possible bullish region, we got to accept the fact that we might even get some new highs. And this is just something a lot of people have been drawing as well, which I'll point out. The fact that this could actually be channeling as well, okay? This could actually be turning into a nice channel. And if this does end up channeling, and we got one point that hit here, like around that region. We also have this region and that region. So it might even be logical that we're going to end up hitting another region up over there as well, right? And the way that they're moving, it's pretty linearly if you're noticing, right? That movement from the breakout to here is the same as from this to there. So it's even possible that this could break out to something like that as well and hit the top end of the channel for 76. Movements are very linear, in my opinion, and they're very consistent with past data as well. So this is a great way to take a look at it. So now that we've broken above this 44,000 region that was identified on the weekly as a resistance right here, it was very natural to have a test over here. So what we're seeing is we're seeing a test that has come down right there. We poke below that resistance that now turns into a support, and we break up for about 7% recovery, which is a huge number. But unfortunately, for the past few days, we haven't really moved too much after the recovery. So for the past few hours, we can say about 21 hours now, we're hovering in this zone of still trying to figure out what is going on. Although this does look impulsively, doesn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5. It does look like an impulse move to the upside. So this is looking into a nice pattern that's fairly identifiable, which has the potential to break to a higher high. So we're clearly seeing that the established resistance is somewhere around there, taking an average. So of course there's an average, and then there's the higher range. I'd say more so 47,900 is definitely a major resistance. If we take a look at the MACDs, we're seeing that the MACD, yes, it's coming to the downside, but it doesn't mean it's going to cross over. It could always make this type of shape. There's always two shapes that these histograms tend to make. There's a concave shape, think of it like a cave door, and then there's a convex shape. A convex shape is this way, where it doesn't actually curve to the downside. It ends up curving like that, and it recovers, and then it bounces to the top side. So what we're seeing on our side is that we're definitely reaching to the higher zones of the 70s now, which we haven't gotten, like in this particular zone, near overbought for a long time now. The last time we were in the overbought zone was in October, where we were getting to the 67,000 regions. So this is a really high RSI, in my opinion, okay? So we have a chance to actually go even higher than that, which is great. And the MACD is now also on the positive side, high on the positive side. We haven't been this high since this is not considered that high, since literally October, November ranges. So because of this, it's looking bullish altogether. The weekly MACD has crossed over. It's getting much higher than the lower territories in the low 30s there. And despite this week so far, right, we might finish off with a fairly bearish candle, but that's because we just broke out of a resistance, and the resistance was held for a long time now. The resistance was held for literally 76 days. So now that we've broken above this resistance, it's probably going to retest it. And if it doesn't, I would love to see Bitcoin break to a higher high, and the next resistance will most likely be this range over here. So yes, my bias is definitely bullish for Bitcoin this year. There's no reason to believe otherwise. And despite the monthly not looking the best, right? Well, actually, a lot of people are saying that the monthly is not looking the best. The volume has been consistent for 1, 2, 3 months now. It's picked up since November and December for sure in the bear market there. We're getting higher lows consistently every single month for 3 months now. So it's hard for me to believe that this is going to be a bearish year in general. So I'm definitely bullish altogether for Bitcoin and the entire crypto market. I don't want to talk too much about this. I want to keep it under 10 minutes. And just to look at my watch list right now for alts, if we were going to get into it, I'm looking at, of course, GMT, which has had a gigantic rally for a long period of time now. Unfortunately, the fifth wave truncated heavily there, finishing off the 5 waves. So I believe that correction will now ensue for GMT. Alpha has made a gigantic rally, of course. Since April the 1st here, it's rallied about 85%. So there must be something happening fundamentally. We see that every coin that has crossed over on the weekly chart, what we're seeing is that as the weekly starts to tick upwards because the MACDs are about to cross there, people are stacking up. What I like to do, and I don't talk about this because I'm a day trader, but what I like to do is when these are actually about to anticipate a crossover, I'll buy in spot and I'll hold because there's a major chance to rally a substantial amount in the hundreds of percents, which we've seen a lot of alts do already. I'm also following Bake right now. A lot of these coins are moving to the high side. We're seeing Bake do an astronomical amount of 243% in 2 weeks. But it seems like a lot of coins are now in correction mode. They've reached its high already. It's going to consolidate for a good period of time. Dodo was one of the coins that made some major runs for the past 2 days there. ZIL, of course, is high on the watch list where it's made a 500% return so far. But we're seeing that a lot of these coins are certainly facing pressure to correct now that they've reached some astronomical numbers. So I believe now that Bitcoin has broken out of that $44,500 region and it's now hit a wall at 48K, it's most likely going to correct. And because it's going to correct, I can just sense that the market in general is going to be a slow period for probably this entire week. We might have some alts that are breaking out and doing some great numbers, but overall, I believe that Bitcoin's correcting and we're probably going to get a slower period for maybe a week or two because a lot of alts have already had their major run. So I wanted to leave you with just this for now, and I hope that, just so you guys know, if you take a look at the top banner there, I do have a Discord trading group. If for those that are not familiar with it, it's probably one of the most active Discord groups where I focus on education. It's not a signals group, but I do tell everybody when I'm going to enter position, what coin I'm extremely interested in. I try to give people ample feedback for whatever chart that they're looking at as well. We've got moderators in there and help as well, so people are very, very active. It's a community of anywhere between 500 to 1,000 members now, and it's from all over the world. So it's about $50 a month to join it. It comes with a 3-day trial, so hit me up at my website at philakone.com and just give it a try if you like, and I don't think you'll be disappointed. 3-4 months with me and you're going to learn things that you never knew. Not only that, I've got course version 2.0 that's hosted on my website as well. It's going for a really reasonable price in terms of the courses broken down, so you can actually pick and choose what you want to learn. You don't have to drop a huge amount at once. Just check out the website. You're going to see tons of courses that you're going to be highly interested in. My original course got over 3,000 reviews at 4.85 stars, one of the best courses out there. And I really look forward to having many more students and people in my Discord group where I can help grow you as a trader. So I look forward to seeing a lot of you there, and I'll see you next time for my update. Have a great day. Bye now.